Hello folks, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. And in the previous episode we have removed the rear axle and also the trailing arms, and we started to shot blast the rear axle. Meanwhile, this morning I already have shot blasted one of the trailing arms, and you can see that one right here, and this is the old one, so you can see the difference. So this one is now about ready to be painted. But I want to show you some details on what we've done on these trailing arms, especially where we had the corrosion. And furthermore, in this video, well, we're going to continue painting all the parts, cleaning them all up, and also get underneath the car and clean up certain areas there where we have some rust that needs urgent attention, including the straps that are holding the gas tank, because they look pretty bad. So, without any further ado, let's start. So this one is the trailing arm that we have now shot blasted, and I did blast it with Garnet 360, which is not too abrasive. You can see the pitting, but to be honest, this is still very solid. If you compare this one with that one, well, then it's a big difference. So this one is now ready to be painted. However, before I do so, I will remove these bushes. And the parts came out very clean without any defects really. And if you look on the old part, this is one of the brackets from the side, and then the one that we cleaned up, you can actually see the difference. So even these brackets are reusable after they're going to be primed and painted. This part hasn't been blasted yet, but I started to remove the bushes, and the bush is already partially out. And these are the new bushes that are going to be installed. And I'm doing this just because it's all out of the car, so I might as well change them, although they are not too bad. And normally I do this on the ground because it's easier. So let's see. So I'm holding one side, and on the other side I'm just using a big wrench, and I'm keep turning. And that's it. Now let me show you the way I've done this. So this is nothing really special, is it? This is just a metal rod with thread blocked against one side, and then on this side I just put the socket up, which is about the right size to push it out, and then you just tighten that up on that nut and it drops out. And keep in mind, if you're going to change the bushes, that the thicker side is always on the outward side, so it's never at the inside. Keep that in mind if you're going to replace them. And also, you might find a marker, a dot on it, and that's important that you put the new ones in exactly the same direction, because the new ones also have a marking dot on it. So these are just two things to keep in mind. So let's do another one. Just show you on how I'm fitting my tools in a very simple way. I'm using this big washer here to hold it, and then I'm just positioning that long socket, and I'm tightening down this nut until it's under tension and we have this in the right spot. Alright, and now we can push. Well, this one is a bit more tough, but it will come. You can see it's coming very slowly. So sometimes I let it sit for a few seconds. And a little bit of WD-40 often helps. This one is a bit more tough to get out, but it's coming out. I've given the rear suspension arms a first coat of anti-rust paint, and so now I'm going to let it dry for a while, and then I'm going to give it the second coat, and that should be more than good enough. I do apply it very thick, and I don't really mind if I have a drip here and there, but of course I try to prevent that. And this paint is working out fairly well. It really dries fast and it gives us a very thick coat. And this is the rear axle, and I see I have a little bit of a paint drip here. Not that it matters a lot, because this is just the rear axle. But still, now those of you that have seen my video on making your own paint boot, I can tell you that my paint boot has paid off so many times already. So the effort I put in to build it was, well, it was quite a job to do it, but man, I have had so much use of that paint boot, I wouldn't want to miss it. So, all right. Let's see if we have some more areas where we should take the drips away. But it's not a lot, and it's really drying very fast. So I'm going to let the paint dry, and we are having around 30-32 degrees centigrade, which is a good temperature to make it cook a bit. And while all that is cooking in the paint boot, I'm going to blast the second rear suspension arm, and then we can paint it as well. Maybe I should have done it all together, but I like to work in parts. So all the stuff that I've done now is on the left-hand side, so now I'm going to do the right-hand side. And of course, we shot blasted the brake calipers while they were out of the car. This one isn't done yet. After it was shot blasted, I painted it with special caliper paint, and now that looks, I think it looks pretty cool now. And it works very well. I took it apart to make sure that everything is okay. We greased it again. We double checked the brake pads, and all that is good. I think this one is going to be the same, but this is a bit more dirty still. So yeah, we'll check it later. Now, what I noticed is that only one side is having this brake pad wear detection. The other side didn't have it. So yeah, I'm going to start cleaning this one out, and then we're going to paint it as well, and then we're getting close to working underneath the car, because there we need to do a couple of things as well. So let's take this brake apart, and then we can blast it just like the other one. Hopefully we can open it up. There we go. It always helps by pushing it a bit first. Yeah. Let's see if we can open up the brake. This is pretty rusted, this one. All right, so that's number one, and now we can get number two out finally. And this long wire is actually the wire used to detect the wear and tear on the brake pads, which is this contact right here. Okay, so now I should be able to pull this apart, and now we can actually go and clean all this up and get it blasted, and then we can repaint it. So let's see if we can get this clean. It's kind of funny, isn't it? Whenever you think you're almost done with working and you're ready to paint everything, then you come across a problem. because the right hand suspension arm is actually having a problem, and I'm not sure if the MOT spotted it or not. I couldn't see it, but let me show you what the problem is. So while I was blasting off all this gummy stuff, I found a big bladder here. So I peeled off the gummy stuff, and guess what? There's a hole right here. It's all the way rusted through. Now it cleaned up pretty nice with blasting it, and I think there's plenty of solid material around it, but still this whole area here is very weak. So I'm going to install a complete metal plate all along like this, and then weld it in on the sides, and that should be good enough. And then I will drill some holes, so if any water gets in between, we can actually get it out. And I'm going to use a very thick metal bar, and I will just cut it off like so, and then I will cut the other side, and then we should be good to go. Well, let me see where we need to cut this. Alright, so I'm going to coat the inside so it doesn't rust, and then we're going to weld the bar inside. And this is with special paint for this purpose. And this is the bar that we're going to weld into place, and as you can see, it's a very thick bar, but I think it's worthwhile doing it like this, and it won't be that obvious that we fixed it. Alright, so let's peel off the tape, and then we can weld it up. Let's see if we can fit the bar. Alright, now we're going to try to put some small clamps up so we can hold things in place. There we go. And now we're about ready to weld it up in a couple of these areas, and then that should be more than strong enough. So let's give it a try. I can give it a bit more power. All right. So we're just going to tag it in place. Okay, that looks good. All right. And okay, so I think that will do the job. All right, so let's clean it up a little bit. I think that looks okay. So I think we are about ready to paint. Everything looks like it's dust free and clean. I have it degreased, so we should be okay to start painting in a few minutes. So I'm going to get the paint and let's get started. It's around 35 degrees centigrade in here, so that's pretty hot to paint, but I don't have to be in here very long. So let's start. It's going to be a little bit noisy because I have to turn on the fan. Need to adjust the pressure. And my first coat is a fairly thin coat, so I have a lot of solvent in it. Alright, so I'm going to let it settle a bit and then we do a second coat.